Chicago Bulls, who are sick nowadays. Now that Zach LaVine isn't in that lineup, they're 4-2 since LaVine has gone down with, I believe, foot inflammation. The two losses, one was in overtime in Milwaukee, a game that they were very much in. Yesterday's game on Tuesday against Denver, not so much. Jokic got tossed in that game for, I guess, saying a bad word on one technical, which was bizarre. And the Bulls couldn't come up with a win in that one. But I think the main question here, Rob, is this like a full teardown sort of situation, which I think earlier in the season we thought it might be? Get rid of DeRozan, get rid of Caruso, get rid of LaVine. Or is this just the LaVine problem? Can they actually maybe soft reboot this, get rid of LaVine, maybe bank a draft pick? What do you think, Woz?
Soft reboot this? Come on, man. We have to stop at some point.
Well, can I make the case?
Like it's like as if your alcoholic friend was like, "Come on, it's just a glass of wine. Come on, we're not doing shots anymore. We're not just downing a whole bottle of Jack anymore. It's just a nice little craft IPA."
The soft rebuild is the opiate of the masses. You really can't trust them with that.
Well, here is the complicating factor. One is that they have been reasonably good and look pretty spunky with an Alex Caruso, even with DeRozan a little bit more optimized. It seems like they are the type of team that might be better than the sum of their parts. The big thing, though, is that they owe a first-round pick to the Spurs next year. And if you're going to be in the range of top 10, which is where the protections lie, like, why not actually try to take a step back this season in order to take a step forward next season? Maybe even bring DeRozan back on like a short-term deal, like a two-year deal. You get a young player and hopefully you get that right. That's actually probably a bigger problem, is that their draft picks have only been marginally good. But then you're going from there, as opposed to just thinking this is going to be a 4 or 5 year rebuild like they have done in the past, and it hasn't really worked out.
I just think if you're banking your plan on, we're going to make a couple of moves now, and then we're going to re-sign DeMar DeRozan in free agency, what happens if DeMar DeRozan doesn't re-sign in free agency? Then you're just kind of left with a materially worse version of your team that you should have traded 6 months ago. So where I am right now with this team is I am willing to trade basically anyone on this roster if I am the Chicago Bulls, with the somewhat improbable exception of Kobe White, who has had a really nice season for them and was really kind of the lone bright spot outside of Alex Caruso, I would say, or some of the occasional wins in this stretch. But otherwise, if you call about any of our veteran guys, I'm here for it. I'm taking those calls. If you call about Patrick Williams, who I do not want to pay on his next contract, I am perfectly willing to take that call, even though age-wise, he could fit in the next version of the Bulls. I just don't see a reason to be precious about anyone else on this roster at this point.
Yeah, this should be a total liquidation sale. Like when Bath and Body Works went out of complete business by me.
May it rest in peace.
They had that sale. Like, that's what the Bulls need to do right now. They need to totally liquidate every single thing on the roster. For me, selfishly, I'd like to see these guys be on real teams chasing real goals and aims. I'd like to see Caruso back in the playoff hunt. I'd love to see DeMar DeRozan as a veteran presence helping a playoff contender. And same goes with Zach LaVine. To me, just sell it. Just sell it all off and cut your losses, because this thing is over. Honestly, outside of the version that we saw when Lonzo, as we mentioned earlier, was healthy, there's no other version of this team that's been like, oh, this team is like really good. And probably they played some really good defense down the stretch of last season, shocked all of us, and that was nice to see. But at the end of the day, they couldn't make it out the play-in. They kind of choked that game away against Miami, if we're being honest. And yeah, it's over. Why are we pretending that like something could turn around? The best player, or the guy who's supposed to be the best player, is in an open war with your head coach. It's become public.
That seems a little strong.
I mean, it's obvious he don't rock with him and that he's completely unhappy in Chicago, right? And even if he's not, he's not doing Jimmy Butler in practice against Karl Anthony Towns, right? Like, he's not doing that, but he's obviously over the situation. They've lost Zach LaVine. And so what are we holding on to? The fact that Kobe White's been good for 5 games? That's the thing?
I think it's La Flama Blanca is what we're looking forward to, which is what the Bulls broadcast, at least in a little graphic they put up in yesterday's game, called him, which I have to say is that's good shit right there. So here's White's past 6 while LaVine has sat. 26 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 51, 53, 88. I did not expect this. I thought White was a reserve player at best. And I think that's probably a good discussion topic, Rob, is White, what is he going forward? Is he a version of this? I would be surprised if he kept this up, but is he a starter, or what do we have here?
That's the thing. I want to find out. And in order to find out, I might need to trade Zach LaVine. I might need to trade DeMar DeRozan. I may need to clear a little more room here to see, I'm not projecting him as any kind of superstar talent, but Chicago has this problem in a couple spots where Dalen Terry, for example, the 18th pick in the draft last season, I don't even know if he's an NBA player. And I would like to find out personally if he can even stick it in the NBA. But this is a team that's been so desperate to tread water. This is the issue, Woz. This is the issue.
Instead of watching DeMar DeRozan put up 41 and battle the Bucks in overtime, you want Dalen Terry reps, is what you're saying.
No, I want to push the dynamite plunger and blow this thing up is what I want to do. And if the side effect of that is that Dalen Terry gets to play some actual NBA minutes to find out if he's an actual NBA player, all the better for it.
The drafting has not been good. I do think that it probably is the Achilles heel of this team. They kind of based what they did around the fact that they had a couple picks that they seemed high on, Patrick Williams being chief among them, but it was also White, it was also Terry, it was also Dosunmu, who had some moments when Ball was in there and he was playing well. But there just really isn't much beyond the layer of what's called them the big 3. And so I see where you guys are coming from. I guess I'm trying to find a version where we aren't just hitting the dynamite, but I agree. It is difficult.
But they're the team to me that if they put these guys on the market for real, if they start interrogating those options honestly and earnestly, Alex Caruso is going to have bidders. DeMar DeRozan at this stage, I think, is going to have bidders. I think there are teams who are going to be interested in him shoring up their half-court offense for the season. And even as you go down the list, your Javon Carters and your Torrey Craigs, maybe there's some interest in those guys. And I just don't see any reason to be holding on to this too tightly.